My name is Muhammad Suhail Thaqif bin Muhammad Ishaq, metric number 11800020.
My name is Mirza bin Wasim. My matrix number 1181006.
My name is Muhammad Naim bin Adnan. My matric number 1181022.
My name is Alif Aizudin bin Jahya. My matric number 1181033.
My name is Muhammad Hafiz B. Rosli. My matric number is 1181011.
Have you ever heard about Al-Farabi? Who is Al-Farabi? Why is he popular both in the East and also in the West? Stay tuned in this video and we will entertain you guys. Al-Farabi is considered as the father of philosophy. He is a renowned philosopher to the world, and he also earned the nickname as Ma'alim al-Thani, which translates into English the second master of philosophy, Aristotle being the first and Al-Farabi being the second. And despite the fact that he is the father of philosophy, he also wrote books beyond philosophy, such as physics, metaphysics, politics, and also others. Basically, we can understand that he is a devoted academician that gives everything, or that gives his life to in the pursuit of knowing the truth and also benefiting others from what he has learned.
Who is Al-Farabi? Let's get to know Al-Farabi more closely. His full name, Muhammad ibn Tarkad ibn Awzalak or Uzluk. Al-Farabi, also called Abu Nasr Al-Farabi. In Latin, the name Al-Farabi better known as Al-Farabius or Avenasar. He was born in 870 AD in Farab city, now famous as Otrar. He was died in 950 AD in Damascus, Syria. He was known as the second teacher, whereas Aristotle was referred as the first teacher. He was an Iranian renowned early Islamic philosopher and jurist. In his life, published more than 100 works of different size enriched of his experience and observations. His father had Persian origin, was an army commander at the Turkish. The first picture is Aristotle, was a Greek philosopher and polymath during the classical period in ancient Greece. Taught by Plato, he was the founder of the Lyceum, the Peripatetic school of philosophy and the Aristotelian tradition. And beside the Aristotle picture was Al-Farabi. He was known as the second teacher after Aristotle, and Aristotle was referred as the first teacher. As we can see in the slide, they have two pictures. The first picture was the map of Farab city, now famous as Otrar, using Google Maps. And the second one is archaeological site of Otrar was destroyed by Genghis Khan in the 3rd century after Al-Farabi died. Let me explain to you about the education background of Al-Farabi. First of all, Al-Farabi was taught his education by studying from home, or called home tutor, and then he moved to do study in the field of philosophy. And after that, he received basic knowledge of education after he studying in field, and then he moved again to Baghdad, from where he studied grammar, logic, philosophy, music, mathematics, and science. He also have a teacher, which is Abu Bashir Mata bin Yunus, who was the great translator and interpreter of Greek philosophy in Baghdad. And then he studied under Yohanna bin Haylan, the Nestorian, and also affiliated to the Alexandrian School of Philosophy located at Haran. In year 943, he moved again to Aleppo and joined the literary circle in court of Saif al-Dawla Hamdani. And lastly, Al-Farabi was allowed to wander in the countryside to think and write on his own. It was probably because of this experience that he despaired at reforming his society, and as reaction he inclined towards Sufis. His travel took him to Egypt. This is a summary of the Al-Farabi's background education before he became a famous scholar.
Okay, next we look about the contribution of Al-Farabi. In Al-Farabi life, there are many contributions that he left to the Muslim and the Ummah. Al-Farabi made contribution in the field of philosophy, music, logic, politics, and mathematics. First, contribution of Al-Farabi in philosophy. As a philosopher, Al-Farabi was a founder of his own school of early Islamic philosophy known as Al-Farabism or Al-Farabism. Al-Farabi's school of philosophy break with the philosophy of Plato and Aristotle and moved from metaphysics to the methodology, a move that anticipates modernity. And at the level of philosophy, Al-Farabi unit theory and practice, and in the sphere of the political, he liberates practice from theory. Al-Farabi had great influence on science and philosophy for several centuries and was widely considered second to Aristotle in knowledge in his time. His work aimed at synthesis of philosophy and Sufism paved the way for the work of Ibn Sina. Al-Farabi also wrote a commentary of Aristotle's work, and one of his most notable work is Al-Madinah Al-Fadila, where he theorized an ideal state as in Plato's The Republic. Al-Farabi argued that religion rendered truth through symbol and persuasion, and like Plato, saw it as the duty of the philosopher to provide guidance to the state. Al-Farabi argued that the ideal state was the city-state of Medina when it was governed by the Prophet Muhammad. As its head of state, he was in direct communion with Allah, whose law was revealed to him. Okay, next this is an example kita Al-Madinah Al-Fadilah by Al-Farabi. Okay, second, contribution of Al-Farabi in music. Al-Farabi became the first music scholar to address the theory and principle of music, which we can turn to as Islamic geography and Turkish music history. It is widely believed by music researchers that Al-Farabi approach to philosophy and music through knowledge is inspired by ancient Greek music scientists. Next, having processed the science of music within the framework of universal law, Al-Farabi maintained its influence as the first Turkish philosopher who placed music on a scientific and philosophical basis. Al-Farabi wrote a book on music titled Kitab al-Musika, the book of music. In it, he presents philosophical principles about music, its cosmic quality, and its influence. The information given by Al-Farabi about the music theory in the book he wrote made a great contribution to the ideas of music in the Islamic geography and became a reference. Next, in the Islamic geography, there are two important personalities who worked on music theory before Al-Farabi in the period covering the 3rd and 10th centuries. These are Ishaq al-Masih and al-Kindi. However, Al-Farabi criticized their views on music. Because why? Because he stated that they did not do enough research in their own opinion and that they conveyed the views in the ancient Greek work on this subject. Okay, Al-Farabi grouped music into two parts, theoretical and practical. First, practical music. Al-Farabi explained practical music as the application part of sound with the contribution of different music instruments. And second is theoretical music. On the other hand, define composition, composing, and art emerging from the production of art. Okay, next. This is an example Kitab Al-Muzika Al-Kabir by Al-Farabi. And the second picture we can see this is one of the example drawing of a musical instrument from Al-Farabi in Kitab Al-Muzika.
Okay, we go to the next slide, which is the third contribution of Al-Farabi, which is in logic. The first one, he was mainly an Aristotelian logician. He includes or put number for non-Aristotelian elements or views in his work to differentiate between an Aristotelian views and non-Aristotelian views. Second, he discussed the topic of future contingents, the number and relation of the categories, the relation between logic and grammar, and non-Aristotelian forms of inference. Okay, many Al-Farabi thoughts were taken from Aristotle, but Al-Farabi not taken directly from that. Al-Farabi will refer to Al-Quran and Hadith first before Al-Farabi decide his opinion. Okay, next, Al-Farabi categorizing logic into two types of group, which is the first one is idea, in Arabic terms we can say as takhayyul, and second is proof, and Arabic term is subut. Next, Al-Farabi also considered the theories of conditional syllogism and analogical inference, which were part of Stoic tradition of logic rather than the Aristotelian. Okay, what is the Stoic just now? Stoic logic is the system of propositional logic developed by the Stoic philosopher in ancient Greece. It was one of the two great systems of logic in the classical world. The Stoic believed that the universe operated according to reason by a God, which is immersed in nature itself. Okay, next, Al-Farabi division of logic is coordinated with the aim of logic. The aim of logic are, the first one, to regulate or to tuqawim and guide the akal toward the right thinking regard to all intelligible admittance of error. Second, to provide safeguard against error regard to those intelligible. And last, to give meaning to the intelligible admittance of error. Okay, actually, to simplify, Al-Farabi come out with his opinion to help people distinguish between the right way and the wrong way. Okay, next we go to the fourth contribution of Al-Farabi, which is in politics. Al-Farabi is a philosopher who is very perfectionist political thinker. He also created political theory by combining the various thoughts of political figure from Greek philosophers such as Aristotle and Plotinus. Al-Farabi's political thoughts. Al-Farabi political theory is very thick, with theological nuances that refer to an actual human goal by combining worldly happiness and ukhrawi. In his political thinking, Al-Farabi not only discussed the leader state or primary state, ideal state, but also discussed starting from cities that are still within the scope of ideal nation and up to a world consisting of significant nation. For Al-Farabi, the people or society can be formed after the existence of a state leader to form a component element in a country that is directed in realizing a common goal, as the formation of the universe where God must exist before the existence of this nature. Okay, we go to the next slide, which is state and politics. Besides Al-Farabi, there are other scholars had contributed their political thoughts, such as Ibn al-Muqaffa and Al-Kindi. Al-Farabi is considered as the first Muslim scholar who has a complete concept of state about a state, which is a complete with a variety of concept and political theories. Al-Farabi, who wrote his concept entitled Al-Madinah Al-Fadila, was considered as the beginning of the concept of the state. Al-Farabi stated that every citizen must have an idea that must be fought towards the final point of his country, which could be a common goal. Al-Farabi called as a final goal happiness. Okay, next, ideal leader. Actually, in this slide, Al-Farabi was listed condition and requirement how someone can be a good and how to be a ideal leader. The first one, a person who can understanding highly in every issue. Second, have a good and excellent intelligence. His rhymes are complete. Next, not tricky in opinion, and love for education and teaching. And also Al-Farabi added another essential requirement, which is first, a leader must guide. A leader must be someone can guide someone else. Next, need to attract another pupil. And last, educate his pupil to go on the right path and achieve happiness.
Okay, so let's get into ideal society and attaining happiness. Basically, how to attain happiness in a society. Next slide. There are two types of society to Al-Farabi. First is perfect society, and second is imperfect society. Before we get into the definition of each of the definition, let's go to the next slide first. So, the next slide is preconditions for perfect society. Here are some of the preconditions. First is to know the first cause. To know the first cause means in philosophy is to actually know God. That's basically it. And second, the immaterial existence. These are the things that we cannot see. For example, angels, devils, hell, heaven, and so on. These things we cannot see, but we believe that these things exist. Third is celestial substances. Celestial substances are the things that happen on a circular basis. For example, the sun. The sun rises, then it sets, then the moon appears, and so on and so forth. It goes again and again and again. And also the moon and other examples. Fourth is the natural bodies. To Al-Farabi believed that there are different faculties in a human being. For instance, you need food, so that's the nutritive faculty in your body. For example, you need to study. There's the intellectual faculty or intellect faculty in your body that is reacting. So different faculties in a human being. Then the generation of man, then the first ruler, then the rulers will have to take his place, then the excellent city and its people. Basically, these 4 points, we can understand that it basically means that there should be a leader who leads the community, and once the leader has passed away, there needs to be someone who is going to take over the leader. So basically, I can summarize. It basically it means that basically after a leader passes away, then there should be another one who has to take over his place. So this is preconditions for perfect society. And so what is perfect society? Basically, perfect society is people who are working towards attaining happiness with the correct interpretation of what happiness really is and how to attain happiness. So the preconditions that I have briefly explained earlier, these are the preconditions that the people in the perfect society know. Whereas the imperfect society, those people, they are also working towards attaining happiness, but unfortunately they misinterpret or they misunderstand what happiness really is, or they base their happiness based on their desires or their lust or worthy affairs such as health or wealth or fame, positions and so on, or power. So these people are also working in imperfect society. They are also working towards happiness, but they misunderstood what happiness really is. So that's for the definition of perfect society.
And the last, contribution of Al-Farabi in mathematics. Al-Farabi designed a mathematical curriculum in education resembling that of Plato. Al-Farabi considers that arithmetic comes first, since it is an important stage in the hierarchy of the theoretical science. Moreover, desire to learn the theoretical art begins with number, then extends to magnitudes or measures, then to the other things to which numbers and magnitudes essentially belong, like perspective or optics. The study of optics, astronomy, and the natural science in general requires mathematics, and arithmetic is one of the basic tools. Al-Farabi divides mathematics into 7 parts, which is numbers or arithmetic, geometry, the science of perspective, scientific astronomy or contrasted with astrology, music, dynamics, and the science of machines. Mathematics includes algebra. Al-Farabi's explanation for beginning instruction with mathematics is that once that numbers and magnitudes do not allow for any confusions and perfect order reigns. They are an example of precision and clarity, and train the student's intellect in that path. The student must proceed in stage to different levels of mathematics, from the immaterial and the immeasurable, then to what needs some matters, and so on. Geometry comes after arithmetic, for it depends on demonstrations, giving us certain knowledge and banishing all uncertainty. Geometry has two methods, that of analysis and that of structure.
Last slide, we can conclude that Al-Farabi is one of the most popular Islamic figure in Islamic world and sacrificed his entire life for seeking the knowledge. And I think some of us already heard and very familiar with Al-Farabi's name before. Maybe since you are in secondary school, or maybe primary school, or maybe since you are in the kindergarten, maybe. Al-Farabi intellectual heritage with its concentric circle is a legacy of rationality and spirituality that integrates human to make the stepping stone for the future. Ideological critique of Al-Farabi philosophy provide a positive space and vibes and more understanding of philosophical context. Some of Al-Farabi thoughts can teach us solving life problem and integrating the ideological function to face them. Through his ideological critique, we not only can trace the roots of his thoughts, but with his ideological critique, we can plan our life for the better future. Hopefully, all readers of Al-Farabi philosophical can understand, can appreciate, and try to imagine his works as a scientific legacy that is always present in the midst of contemporary life. And for us, who will inherit Al-Farabi's knowledge in various fields? If not us, who will inherit it?
If you have any questions, feel free to ask away, and Naim is going to answer you guys.
Thanks for watching our video.